Welcome to Start Canada Podcast, where we interview startup founders, innovators, and thought leaders from the heart of Canada who are challenging the status quo, scaling their business, and bringing new ideas to life. Tune in with me, your host, Margot Miller, to hear firsthand exactly how they did it. Start Canada Podcast is powered by the Manitoba Technology Accelerator, Tech Manitoba, and Scotiabank. In this unique episode, we speak with two business leaders from either side of the entrepreneurship coin. From the startup side, we have the pleasure of talking to Michelle Leona, owner and head brewer of Wolseley Kombucha, a woman-owned and operated business and Manitoba's first kombucha brewery. And also someone who has been nominated for Woman Entrepreneur of the Year award for the last 3 years running. As well, we have Ksiazek, the regional lead here in the heart of Canada for Futurpreneur. Now, Futurpreneur is Canada's only national nonprofit organization that provides financing, mentorship, and support tools to aspiring business owners, specifically age 18 to 39. Gaining insight from both the perspective of the startup founder as well as that of the industry enabler, you're going to get some great tips on how to leverage the power of your network and use mentorship to get ahead, as well as some amazing tips for securing grants and funding here in Canada. So if you're 18 to 39 and you're looking for tips to grow your business, tune into this episode to hear firsthand anecdotes from both the startup and the support agency on how best to work together and leverage available resources. So here today, Michelle, Caroline, welcome to Start Canada Podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yes, very happy to have both of you. And like I said in your introduction, they're from different sides of the coin. So I think that's going to be a really fun part of today's conversation. Michelle, why don't you start us off? Tell us a bit about Wolseley Kombucha and your journey as a business owner.
So Wolseley Kombucha has been around since 2016. The business started in my home kitchen. I just started basically brewing kombucha for my friends and family. And I realized I was actually really good at it. So at that point, I moved into a shared kitchen in the exchange. So brewing all around the clock, different hours of the night. And from there, I still worked my regular job. So I was working full time as an imaging technologist. And then on evenings and weekends, I would brew in the kitchen and selling my product at farmers markets and friends and family. And then I took the leap and did my business plan. And now we have our own space, 749 Wall Street. So we have a 1,400 square foot facility with a tap room, my office, and a receiving area. I have 8 staff people, and I'm almost going to be writing my next business plan for the next step.
Oh, okay, that's exciting.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah, please. And for those who don't know, will you tell us a little bit about what kombucha is or how it's made?
So kombucha is a fermented tea. So it's made by fermenting tea, sugar with a kombucha culture. You let it sit for about 30 days, and it basically, the culture transforms the sugar into alcohol, then from alcohol into organic acids. So it's a symbiotic of bacteria and yeast.
And so you learned about this process and you thought to yourself, this is what I want to do. What drew you into kombucha in the first place?
So I had a lot of gut issues. At a really young age, I was really sick and I was on a lot of antibiotics. And this was just like the beginning of my whole, health and how important it is. And so I started drinking kombucha and everything changed. My whole life changed. My gut was back to normal. And from there, I started, drinking kombucha and buying a lot of it from the store. So I thought, let me try to figure out how to make it myself. And at that point, no one in Winnipeg was making it locally. And it was hard to even find a culture. But it's interesting because there's actually a bit of a love story here. So my friend's mom was making kombucha. So she taught me how to make it. And now that's my husband. So
oh my goodness.
Interesting how, it's crazy. And so she taught me
from both sides.
Yeah. So she taught me to make kombucha. And now, we have a whole life together. So it's crazy to see where that journey's gone.
Has she helped on the business along the way?
She's a supporter and she would help me if I asked her, but she just likes to cheer me on from the sidelines. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And Caroline, you met Michelle through Futurpreneur, right?
Absolutely. And Michelle is a great example of evolution of an entrepreneur, starting out with something that she's very passionate about and doing it as a side hustle. as she was an imaging technician, right?
Yeah, for 12 years.
That's right. And, as she's building out her business, she came to us for one of our series supported by RBC Future Launch, the Rock My Business series. And Michelle went through that. And I didn't meet her until she was a little bit further in her journey, coming on to Futurpreneur a little bit afterwards. And she had just gotten into her 1,400 square foot brewing space, which is amazing. And very humble Michelle also did all of this and became a mom.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tricky time. A lot was happening. But like our production space, we had looked 2 years for it. So when we found it, even though I was like 9 months pregnant, I was like, we're taking it. I'm not looking for another space, because it's tricky when you're finding a production space, because it has to, like, the city has to also give you the proper zoning. So it was definitely a very whirlwind couple of years.
Is there a secret to doing all that while also being pregnant and then having a kid? Like, if you were to give advice to other female mom entrepreneurs?
I think if you have a lot of passion, you don't even really feel like you're working a lot. I think it's just like the drive. Like, for me, it was a good time too, because I was transitioning from my imaging career to, I guess, an entrepreneur or, owner of Wolseley Kombucha. So it was a good time too to make that transition. But I think if you have a lot of drive and you have a lot of passion, like, just give it your all.
Yeah. Now, Caroline, for those who don't know, tell us a little bit more about what Futurpreneur is as an organization in general.
Right. So we're a national nonprofit. And what we're really there to do is to solve a problem that faces most youth entrepreneurs, not having a plan and not having access to capital. So that's what we're there for. We have the series like the Rock My Business series. That really does like a deep dive into, if you have a business idea, where do you go from there? How do you build out a business plan? We have an interactive business plan writer on our website that can guide you through the whole process. And then how to build out a cash flow and how the two actually integrate into each other. And then, of course, there's the financial product as well, where we do have loans. We do lend out, and the loans are for a side hustle program. We also have our startup loan, which is the one that you took advantage of, which is great. And we work with a variety of other community partners in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is also something that I think is very unique to Futurpreneur. And of course, the mentor. We provide a tier mentor match. And we've talked to our entrepreneurs. More than half said that they wouldn't have felt that they'd be successful without their mentor.
Wow.
And for myself, that's kind of how I came on board to Futurpreneur. Was I was mentoring entrepreneurs in our side hustle program before in my previous career.
Okay, because you're a bit of an intrapreneur yourself.
That's right.
That's the right word.
That's right. For our mentors, they are volunteer mentors. And we either have entrepreneurs that have a certain year of experience, really just, they know what it's like. They know how lonely it can be being an entrepreneur, and really just to be that support. Or people that are professionals that we consider intrapreneurs. So people that work for a company that have a very entrepreneurial role.
Right. Now, Caroline, what's the main difference when dealing with younger entrepreneurs? Because with Futurpreneur specifically, it's 18 to 39. Have you learned along the way that there is a big difference between someone in that age bracket than someone starting a business maybe at a different point? Like, what do you feel like is the standout kind of unique feature of working with young entrepreneurs?
I think it's their ability to pivot and not take the answer no. I think that entrepreneurs that are youth entrepreneurs, they really are kind of like, what's going to take us into the future. It's really, especially now, seeing what's happened through our pandemic. Our youth entrepreneurs really are able to pivot. They see opportunity. They don't take no for an answer. They look for more. They try to take advantage of everything that's available out there. And that's something that Michelle has done really well. She's an entrepreneur that has looked for every single, support that's available for entrepreneurs out there, whether it's grants, lending through us, partnering with another partner that works with Futurpreneur. She's just been amazing. And that's why she's so successful.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about a bunch of those different things that you leveraged here today. But it does make me think right off the bat, what about the time that it takes to apply for all of those grants and loans and find them all and things like that? Was there ever a point in time where you thought, oh gosh, is this going to be worth all the time I'm investing into it in the first place?
I think like after you write your business plan, applying for a grant is like a piece of cake. Like it's so easy. And a lot of like the lingo or like the terminology, a lot of like the formatting is the same. So because I had just written my business plan, it was a little bit easier for me. Okay. And I really was just hoping, like fingers crossed, that I got it. And I did get it. And a lot of people will get approved because there's not a lot of people applying for them. So I say just take the time. Like if it takes you 6 hours or longer, some of them took me longer to do. Like in the beginning, writing like the first one was difficult, and a lot of them you can apply year after year after year. So I applied, and
even if you're successful, you can ask for it again.
They might not give you that like big amount that they gave you on the first time, but like I applied again and I got, it's anything helps when you're an entrepreneur. Like any grant, any amount is helpful. So just keep applying, and there's lots of other grants out there. Like there's tons. You just have to apply.
I'm going to ask you about some specific ones in a little bit here. For now, tell me, when you were talking about your quick journey overview of going from start to today, at one point you quit your existing job. That was a really good one. And you came into this career with both feet. What was that decision like? And what point did you feel like you were able to do that? Was it a revenue goal? Was it just when it became a certain amount of time consuming? Tell us about that decision.
So, my mat leave was done. Okay. So, during my mat leave, like I only took a week off technically. So I had the baby, took a week off, and then I was, pretty much back into it. But being an entrepreneur, it's not 9 to 5. So, I just brought the baby with me wherever I went. And, I knew that I likely wasn't going back to the job. I thought, maybe I can go back as a 0.2, or maybe I can try to fit it in. And then really when it came down to it, like, my Wolseley Kombucha is a full-time job now. And it's important for me to spend time with my family. So my husband and I just kind of crunched the numbers and we're like, we can make this work. So it was a difficult decision though, to say like, okay, like that's like to close that door and to close that chapter. But I made the decision last August and
here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. So.
Wonderful. And at that point where someone's deciding to start a business, you guys have both alluded to some good things you should kind of do before you get started. But let's put those right on the table for those listening that are curious. So what are the best practices? You're about to, launch yourself into a business. What should you have lined up or prepared already at that point?
I can say for me, I never understood. I went to school to be an imaging technologist. So my background is in science. I didn't go to business school. And I never realized the importance of a business plan, because when you write your business plan, it asks you all of the questions for your business. And you think like, oh, you're going to build a space. Like, what does that entail? So it really makes you fine tune your business idea, and it makes you realize how much it's going to cost, how are you going to do it, and how you're going to get there. So like the Rock My Business Plan template really made me realize, okay, this is what I need to do. So it really is a business plan.
Yeah.
So I would say the first, because lots of people start businesses and they don't have a business plan. And I have no idea how they would do it, because you have no idea, you just don't really know all of the different details that you need to know. So my first piece of advice would be to write that business plan.
Mm-hmm. Even properly defining your audience or your customer, right?
It goes into every facet of your business and like how you're going to execute it.
Yeah.
Like you want your product in Ontario. Well, how's it going to get there? Or you want your product in this kind of, a 50 ml bottle or whatever it is. Where are you going to get your bottles from? How much are they going to cost? Like it makes you really think about all of the details.
What about that line, Caroline, between being really well prepared, but also at some point deciding to just start? Like to start a business, you have to start at some point, right? So if you had a business plan that went through like every single penny cost, you would never start.
That's right. Yeah. You don't want to have analysis paralysis, but I think it really is, just a good blend of both. It's, I think though, the secret for the entrepreneurs that we have seen being successful are the ones that really have the plan. And a business plan is something that's going to evolve with your business. It is a living, breathing document. That's something that we kind of really try to share with our entrepreneurs, that mindset. And when you're planning and seeing the integration, like your cash flow, your costs, and how that goes into your business plan, I think it just really gives you confidence. Then you can make decisions in a confident place. You've thought things through. If something happens and you need to pivot, like there's a pandemic, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Right? You have thought out different scenarios and you can make your decisions quicker. So I think that that's really the ones, yes, you do have to start somewhere, but I think start with your idea, expand on that. We say, have a great idea, but start small. And Michelle's a great example of that, where she started it as a side hustle, got things going. Do I really love this? Do I love it enough? What's going to happen next? Builds out her business plan, figures out the costs, and here she is with this amazing Winnipeg company now.
Yeah. And I think that just helps you avoid pitfalls, right? Like to your point of pivoting and things like that. It helps you avoid as many hurdles because you've just thought through a little bit more.
That's right.
Yeah. Michelle, speaking of pitfalls, I know at the beginning, you guys set up some stuff really properly in order to ensure that you were avoiding some of that stuff. I know we talked off air a little bit about label creation and things like that. So tell me a bit about that process of setting things up properly from the start, other than just the plan itself.
So from the beginning, we are, eventually, like our intent's to get into Sobeys and Safeway. So we built our production space that would basically, they would approve that under their guidelines. Same with our labels. We figured, why not? Let's just do it right from the beginning. So having our labels set for Sobeys and Safeway and having our space, now we don't have to go back and fix any of that. That's already all ready to go. We're just working on our food safety plan right now, which is a lot of work.
So right from the start, you knew what your end goal was. Your goal was get into large retail outlets. And then you started right at the beginning by working backward from there. We just
figured, even with the food safety plan, if you're already comfortable with these processes, then when they come and do an audit, it's not as scary. Our production space is gorgeous. It's brand new. But everything was built based on getting approved for those audits and having the labels approved for those audits and things like that. And I find it's if you do it along the way rather than doing it all when you're ready to get into Sobeys and Safeway, that's just the norm, right? Yeah. So it's less intimidating.
Yeah, of course, less intimidating at that point. But is it worth the work up front always? So were there any other examples of things like that you guys did where, so you're planning ahead to make sure that your labels and things are ready for long-term goals, but that might take more time up front. But from your experience, just well worth it to do it that way?
It was a little bit more work for sure, but I think it's well worth it because now I don't have to worry about it now. And with our production space, I should show you pictures of what it looked like before. It was a mill working place, so it was a total gut and total reno. So making the plans based on Sobeys and Safeway from the beginning, it just made sense, right? Because our contractor is building everything. Let's just build it all from perfect from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Now, tell me a little bit about the process too, from going from that shared kitchen space to having your own space. And even Caroline alluded to some of the crazy hours you were working with being pregnant or with child kind of thing. So talk about that experience and what you learned maybe in a shared kitchen environment to today.
So working in a shared kitchen definitely has its advantages. You pay by the hour. So if you only use 3 hours, that's all you use. So when you're building out your business or figuring it out, it's a great, also to test the market. I don't know if, maybe people don't want kombucha in Winnipeg, right? So it was a really good place to grow my business organically and just to see if it's something that I really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I think I achieved that. But it definitely has its downsides. I remember once I was working from 11 p.m. till 6 in the morning because that's the only time slot I can get. And with kombucha, if it's ready, you have to bottle it. Sometimes it can't wait that extra day or it can't wait, a couple of days. So, when you're booking the kitchen, they're like, well, we have 3 hours in the middle of the night. And you're like, okay. So but you know what? It's not that it doesn't seem like work because when you're going into work that late, it does seem like work, but it's just I was so passionate about it and I was like, just go in, get it done. And I'm glad that I was able to test the business rather than jumping in. And I feel like if you grow your business more organically, it's just, I guess it's just less stressful. I don't know. It's an evolution
you have
of the
confidence in
business.
yourself and in what you're doing because you've had that validation in like
That's
smaller
right.
spurts along the way.
You're testing your value
And just
proposition
testing
in a way.
too. Like I'm not just like jumping right in and then it fails, right? It's like the business grew organically like over 4 years.
This is your science background kicking in.
So, and now you're in 55 plus retail stores. So you have succeeded in continuing to grow the business. That process of getting your product into larger stores, tell us a bit about what that looks like for someone who might have a food product or beverage that they're trying to envision getting into retail stores one day.
So if you have a food product and you're trying to get into the stores, like the first thing is to contact the store manager and just usually bring samples or your price sheet and, just schedule some time with them. Most of the stores are pretty, I don't want to say easy to get into, but they're mostly pretty approachable. Like all of the co-ops are awesome. Everyone's super friendly. They carry a lot of local products. And then obviously some of the bigger chains are a little bit, I guess, I don't want to say difficult, but there's definitely more hoops you have to jump through.
Right.
Like having a food safety program, like even though everything that we're doing in our facility is food safety, but you have to have it all on paper. So they need to see that. And there's just a bit more work for that.
And
so that's
their
what we're working on
liability.
right now. And it's no one in Manitoba has done it. So I've had to look for someone from Alberta to help me because nobody's worked with getting a kombucha company a food safety program.
Okay, so they might have done it with other products, but you have to learn from
It's very specific to
Okay.
kombucha and because, we check the pH and things like that to make sure the product is good. So it's just a little bit, nobody in Manitoba knows. So I'm working with a company in Alberta.
Okay, interesting. And Caroline, from the perspective of right now, we are in a pandemic and different businesses are succeeding in different ways. Have you seen a trend with food and beverage industry products or startups thriving during this time? Or tell us a bit about what you're seeing.
We definitely have seen an uptake. Our phone lines and our email is just inundated right now with youth that are interested in starting businesses, pivoting, seeing opportunities. And definitely, I think being at home, working from home, sure, we're getting a little bit busier in our kitchens and people are trying things out. We definitely have seen an uptake in food and beverage for sure. But again, with all the different lockdowns happening at different times throughout the last 11 months, I think too, entrepreneurs that really have a strong takeout plan, just like you have your tap room, you've been able to be open during this entire time. You've got great relations with your different vendors and, you're able to get your product out there. Entrepreneurs that also are collaborating with each other is a great kind of side story on this. I see Michelle collaborating with so many of our other Futurpreneur entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. And I think that really has helped people be successful through this pandemic.
Yeah, interesting. Michelle, from your side then, with a lot of those collaborations, are they typically paid collaborations? Is it just promotional support of each other? Or what do those look like usually?
So they can look different ways, like whether it's like, collaborating with Hudson Bagel. They carry our product. They're right in our neighborhood and they're awesome. They have the best bagels ever. But, we're working on having a Wolseley Kombucha bagel. Like, how cool is that?
Fun.
Like, and it's just, I think also just supporting like a lot of our, like the people that carry my product, like, we get their food or we go to their store and we post about it. And it could be as simple as, posting about something. Because like I grew my business on Instagram. My first sale was on Instagram. So I think like, using Instagram as a tool for marketing is like, not only is it, just like business, but it's also companies that were passionate. And, there's been so much support between the different businesses.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Is there a tip if someone thinks another business is a really good business to collaborate with? Like it looks as though they're aligned. Would you say just literally reach out to them?
I would just reach out. I think most people are, especially like now, everyone's very like humble. Everyone's
receptive.
Yeah, and perceptive. And like I've made so many friends on Instagram and then I meet them in real life and it's, that's just kind of the way it is now.
Yeah, certainly. Do you think that those social media platforms have changed though, as far as like from getting your first sale a few years ago now to today, as far as like algorithms, just how things have changed? Do you see the product doing equally as well on social as it did at the start?
I would say it does pretty well. Like, you know, if we post about variety packs, we always sell like 10 more that week. But I mean, sometimes we're so busy that we can't just be posting about stuff all the time. Yeah. But I think it's probably about the same. I know there's a lot of like algorithm stuff. I'm still not an expert on that.
Like save your posts, engagement, all of these things. And we talk about that now in our business plan seminars when we talk about marketing in the business plan as well. So there's so much. And I think, again, things are just evolving and changing so quickly. Entrepreneurs that collaborate with each other, they're able then to keep each other in the know.
Yep. And I think too, being authentic in your posts, like a lot of, I don't know if you've seen like my social media, but like I like to tie in my family. I like to tie in things that I'm passionate about, whether like some, it might not have anything to do with kombucha. So I think if people see like the face behind the business, and I used to know almost all of my customers' names. I think I almost probably do. And I think like having that personal touch, people like that sense, and they feel connected to something.
Yeah, certainly. And there is that debate of whether you should be the face of your company or not, right? Mm-hmm. And I think some people can gain really good advantage from that, especially if there's like a support local and they know the person behind the local business. Has there been any hurdles for you with that? Any pushback ever or tricky situations because people want to talk to you directly?
I think like from the very beginning, it was like I'm Wolseley Kombucha. Like it was funny. Once I was walking down the street and someone's like, "Oh, look, there's Wolseley Kombucha." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I feel famous." But you know what I mean?
You are the business. Yeah.
I just feel like for me in my situation, I feel like I like to keep it personal. Okay. I'm a very personal person, I guess. And I like to keep it that way.
Yeah, certainly. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, Caroline, just now a bit about the business plan and some of the other advantages. And I know that you've both said that to have that can impact so many other things that you do. So I want to get into a little bit about impact of funding and how you can leverage your business plan to do really well when it comes to that. But before we get into that, we are going to do our speed round. Okay. So if you're ready, you can both just jump in anytime. Right. Short answers. Okay. The first question is, describe yourself in a word or two.
Daring and bubbly.
Authentic and funny.
Great. The next question is, what motivates you?
Food.
Kombucha? No, I'm just kidding. Creativity.
Yeah, helping people.
What keeps you up at night?
Netflix. I think I'm the funny one.
Ooh, that's a good one. Everything. As an entrepreneur, you never turn your brain off. You're always kind of thinking. Like last night, I couldn't sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say too, just where is this going to lead to? Like, what's happening? Where are we going to be a year from now, 6 months from now? Definitely keeps me up at night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who's the most influential person to you?
Oh, my mom. Definitely my mom, I would say.
Yeah. I'd have to agree, my mom.
What is one thing in business that you're so happy you did?
Rock my business plan.
I would say not burn bridges.
Yeah.
Mm.
I would second on that. Collaborate with people. Mm-hmm. Don't burn bridges.
That's right.
Mm. What is most important for your mental health?
Sleep.
Routine.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you were wrong about?
How long the pandemic was going to last? I don't know. I think so.
The size of my production space, because I'm already outgrowing it.
Oh, gosh. How do you personally continue to learn and grow?
I think surround myself with people that are just interesting and doing different things than I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that as well. Like always learning, always taking classes. Mm-hmm. Again, like not having like an entrepreneur background, like I'm always learning new things. So just continue to learn. Where
are you 10 years from now?
Traveling. Eating.
We're allowed, yeah.
I hope traveling. I hope travel's definitely on there. I would like to grow my business a little bit bigger, I think. I'd like to be Canada's #1 brand, but we'd like to open a few different locations. So that's something we're thinking about right now.
Mm-hmm. Exciting. Mm-hmm. What does being a leader mean to you?
Oh, supporting people.
Support, inspire.
Mm-hmm.
That's our speed round.
All right.
You can relax now. Yes.
That was tense.
That was fun.
That was good. Yeah. You can see your body language change while you guys are doing it. Were you going to tell us a story, Michelle, about being kept up last night?
Oh, yeah. So it's been like a crazy year. And I've had a lot of things on my mind. And so I couldn't sleep last night. So I just woke up and went to work and I hammered them all out. And now I feel great.
Oh my gosh. I do that sometimes working really late or like getting up early and just immediately starting work, no breakfast or anything like that. But I don't usually get up in the middle of the night.
Well, it was probably like 6 a.m. at that point. So it was time to get up. I usually get up and spend some time with my daughter in the morning and then go to work. But I was just like, and it's crazy because all of the things that I had in my mind, like the right people called me that day. So I was able to actually like not solve the problem, but at least have a plan in place. So it was a good day.
Yeah, there is that sense of relief, isn't there, when you get a lot of stuff done. Caroline, what's that version for you when you're working with a bunch of different startups and you're trying to get new ones on board and support existing ones?
Well, that's what I love about my days is every day I'm talking to different people. And I think for me, it's routine. You know, when I keep my routine, I have phone call times scheduled for different times of the day, but always those blocks of time. Business plan reviews, same thing. So I know that I'm really well hydrated and, you know, I'm able to look at cash flows. I think like for me, it's just, you know, and I love the variety. And it's great when you get on a call with an entrepreneur who's just excited to tell you about their idea and is just looking for help.
Yep.
You know, just hearing their story. I think that's the best part of my job with Futurpreneur is hearing all the different stories for all the variety of entrepreneurs that we support.
Yep. It's a big fun part of what we do here at Start Canada Podcast too, because we get to hear all these stories firsthand, right? And it is a lot of fun. And it does energize you too when you're listening to this or hearing the stories firsthand in your case. Now, I want to talk about funding as promised. So, Caroline, if you continue on your thought process there of helping people with their ideas and they're coming to you, when you set them up with a business plan and support, that's one piece of what you do. They can just come to you directly for funding, in which case, what are you recommending they do? What are you looking for?
Yeah. Well, we are looking for that business plan and cash flow and a healthy credit score. Those are the things that go into establishing whether or not we can support them through our lending program. So I would say that right there. And, you're going to need a business plan and cash flow projections, regardless if you come to Futurpreneur or you go to a bank.
Right.
Or you go to the bank of mom and dad. They're going to want to see the plan. They're going to want to know, what is it you're going to be doing? How much is this going to cost? What might happen if XYZ happens? So
what is your recommendation for that for people going to their family for funding? Do you say absolutely don't do it, it's a horrible idea? Is it okay in certain instances? Do you have advice on that, Caroline?
What? I would say it really just depends on the person, the project, and then the family. We have this saying, you might have to start with friends, relatives, and anyone you know. And that's just how it is. And then also coming to us. For us, our lending, it's up to $20,000 with Futurpreneur. Then we have a match from the BDC. It's a 2-to-1 match. So it's up to $60,000 for our startup program. Our side hustle, it's up to $15,000. It's just such a great program. And I have to say too, I'm really proud about how we supported our entrepreneurs throughout the pandemic. Something that Futurpreneur did that other lenders didn't do is we didn't defer payments for our entrepreneurs. We actually made the first 6 months of payments and interest payments for all of our entrepreneurs that were in our program prior to April 1 of 2020 for the first 6 months of the pandemic.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it was like $7.6 million.
What did that mean for you? Were still in the program at that point, Michelle, right?
I thought my payments were being deferred and they're like, no, they're being paid. And I was like, what? It's just, and when the pandemic hit, it's so our tap room opened January 11th and we had 2 killer months and it was awesome. We had so much momentum. And then I could see this thing happening. And then, within a couple of weeks, all my wholesale was closed, everything. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So to have that support is crazy awesome.
Yeah.
Because obviously, all the numbers are running through your head. How am I going to pay my bills and things like that? For Wolseley Kombucha, we switched everything online. We built a full online store. We did it in 4 days. So we were only actually closed for 1 week, 4 days.
Yeah. See, and that's the pivoting I'm talking about.
Yeah, we just did everything. Yeah. So even workshops, I still offered workshops and people still bought starter kits and everything was through Zoom. So yeah, it's just like, thinking outside the box and making still, being able to make ends meet.
Yep.
And having it's actually interesting because my initial business plan didn't have a tap room. But the spot that we found, like the commercial space, had a door to the sidewalk. So I'm like, oh, let's build a little tap room. And that's my saving grace, was having that direct to customer sales.
Wow. So sometimes it's planning, and then sometimes it's just, at the same
little
time, things are lining
serendipity, I
up.
think.
Yeah.
And I love it too. I don't know if you've been there before, but it's so cute.
Not yet, but
Yes,
we're going to go very soon, I promise. We're lucky that you're in our city, so we can do that in this case. Okay, so when it comes to that funding bit then, Caroline, you just described the process a little bit and some of the different types that you have. Michelle, walk us through the different types of funding that you personally have received along the way.
So I got the loan through Futurpreneur, so that was for $15,000. And then I got the top up with BDC, so that was up to $30,000. That's the amount at the time. And then I got 132 from Women's Enterprise Center. So, and different vendors will say, you can ask for money for different things. For cash flow, BDC was okay covering it, but Women's Enterprise Center wasn't. So different vendors also have different rules. So I was able to, with all of that, I was able to make everything work.
And I think that's an important point for our listeners there, that if you are looking for funding and someone says you're not allowed to use funding to buy that type of item or to spend on that type of cost, there are potentially other places that you should be looking.
Exactly. Yeah. So, they all have different rates, and they all have different payback. The terms are a little bit different. But I think also too, I have the support from Futurpreneur, from BDC, and Women's Enterprise Center, and I've used all of them. And it's, just being part of a community. I have a huge support team, and I have my mentor that, we still keep in touch. And, he's been an entrepreneur for years. So just having his support, we would meet for lunch, usually once every 6 weeks. And typically when I met him, he had 5 other entrepreneurs with him. So one of the entrepreneurs there was the mentor for Browse by G. So it's just networking and connecting with people. And, if I needed an item, I would ask him and he would shoot me in the right direction. So it's just, being a new entrepreneur, having that mentor and that support is awesome.
Yeah. And it's built in with the loan or the funding that you're receiving. Yeah. And so for you, there's just that added benefit.
Yes.
And Caroline, that's obviously something that Futurpreneur planned out or knew was effective.
Yes. We know that entrepreneurship, it's lonely, and you can't always go to family for advice, nor you might not want to. So to have support, someone who can just be kind of a guiding hand through that entrepreneurship journey that has a higher level view of what you're doing. They're not in the weeds with you, so to speak. They can kind of guide you into different options that are available to you.
And so with your funding, whether you're the side hustle or the startup funding, do they both come with a mentor?
They both come with the mentor match.
Yep. And tell us a bit about who those people are and how you find your mentors.
So our mentors are volunteer mentors, and they are either entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs that have minimum of 5 years experience. The majority of them have well over 10. Now, because one thing that's great that's happened because of the pandemic is getting everybody to realize how useful remote learning is and remote connectivity. So we are able to match mentors outside of province. So if we do have an entrepreneur that's doing something that's very specialized and we don't have a mentor for them in Manitoba, we are able to match them outside the province and vice versa. So that's actually, it's pretty great.
Yeah. And and sorry, go ahead, Michelle, if you're going to add to that.
No, I was just going to say that's awesome, because then you can match people a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Michelle, talk to us a bit about grants, because you've also leveraged those. And I think maybe even some listeners might not totally understand the difference between getting loans or funding and grants. One big benefit of grants is that you often don't have to pay them back. It's kind of what they're all about.
It's amazing when you get that check and you're like, yes.
This is just mine. It's
mine.
done. Yeah.
And a lot of the times too, you've already spent the money. For me, building a space, I'm already buying all the fermenters. I'm already buying everything. So why not, fill out a capital asset grant, right? Because that usually they cover about 25% of your total items that are specific to your business. So it would be anything that's specific for me, anything specific to making kombucha. So any of our fermenters, any of our brewing equipment, our kettles, and all of these things add up. They even were lucky to put the walk-in cooler, because once the kombucha is ready, it has to be refrigerated. So they included that as as an item specific to kombucha. So they paid back 25%. So I got a check.
Of capital costs.
And the thing is too, like, you just keep investing the money back into the business. But I think getting those grants is what's able to, like sales and things like that are also obviously going to help you build your business. But if you have these grants, like that's just extra cash that you're able to, put back into your business.
And sorry, I was going to say you have that grant now too, where you were
The Safe at Home.
That's right.
Right now, yeah. So the Safe at Home MB grant, I heard about it and I literally applied. This one only took under 5 minutes. I did it on my phone in my pajamas. And it was just like, this is what I can offer, and a quick, figure out how much you're going to ask for. And it took me under 5 minutes, and I'm basically offering free kombucha classes. So it's great too for the community, right? It gives people something fun to do. I think I've taught over 100 people now since the beginning of January how to make kombucha, and there's different levels of classes, and it's free for them, and I'm getting a grant out of it. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. That's one thing we do talk about too, about when I asked that question in our speed round about mental health and how you kind of just stay healthy in all ways, right? And one of those ways is to do different unique things and try new products and support local, because you're going to learn something and engage in more than just a purchase, right? And so I think that's really neat that you're doing those workshops and that was able to be facilitated through a grant.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I always offer workshops. But, sometimes maybe only a couple people will sign up. But now they've just been filling up. And some people aren't even actually going to make kombucha, but they're like, I've heard so much about it. I just want to know what it is.
To understand the process better.
So I've talked a little bit more about what kombucha is and the benefits. Because people sometimes are like, I've heard the word kombucha, but what is it? So I've changed the workshop this round a little bit differently. So it's a bit more beginner friendly.
Okay, let's deviate really quickly. What are some benefits? You talked about gut health earlier. Yes. What are some other ones really quick?
So kombucha is a fermented tea. It's has beneficial bacteria. It's going to help improve gut health. It also has organic acids, so it detoxifies the liver and the blood, and it balances the pH in your body. So it helps to make you more alkaline. So when you're more alkaline, you're less susceptible to disease. Is what they say.
Okay. And I put you on the spot there. I felt like you did really good.
There's also B vitamins, and then you're getting all the antioxidants, everything from the tea. And then if you're putting ginger in your kombucha or whatever you're adding, it's the elixir of life.
There you go. I love it.
It tastes really good.
And it tastes really good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, back to where we were with grants. Now, my understanding is there's a lot of grants out there, but they're just hard to find. Do you guys have tips on finding the right grants and applying for them?
So there's lots of provincial grants. If you're in Manitoba, there's the Manitoba Agriculture Grants. So there's the Capital Asset Grant, or there's the Market Research Grant. I've gotten both of them. Capital Asset, this is the second year, because, as your business grows too, you're like, oh, I need another 50 kegs, and it's expensive to buy some of the equipment. So why not apply for the grants? They can say no, right? If you don't get it, you don't get it, but you might as well apply. So those are the two big ones that I've gotten. There's also some grants for if, I'm doing my HACCP program. So there's some grants you can apply for that. So I would look provincially what the grants are. And then federally, I would just check federal grants, do a Google search and a lot of stuff will come up.
And I would say too, just talk to other people in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
You're very open and willing to share about, what you've done and what you've accessed. So I think that's great. And I think people just want to help each other right now. So, just pick up the phone and ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just been really the best way for you too, Googling, asking, you didn't have some secret website that listed them all magically for you.
Late night Google searching and, okay, check this out. There's there's still more grants out there. I'm sure I haven't found them, but I will. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah.
No, but it sounds like you've done a really good job.
Yeah. So far, like I said, the Manitoba Agriculture Capital Asset Grant has been the biggest one that I've got. So super grateful for that.
And Caroline, I know if you're not inside the city of Winnipeg and you're looking for different supports, there's some other organizations that you guys kind of work closely with, like Community Futures,
That's
right?
right.
How do theirs work? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, for Futurpreneur, we're unsecured lending, right? So that's, I think, the biggest difference between the variety of lenders that are out there. For Community Futures and Women's Enterprise Center, those are secure loans that are done. But for outside the city, I would say definitely Community Futures is one of the best places to go. And then ask your local business center or chambers of commerce. Again, they can connect you to other entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. And then, of course, the other financial lenders that are out there.
And in Manitoba specifically, we're also doing a push right now. Our provincial government has said they want to help with funding to support,
That's right, with Restart.
recovery, young
That's right.
entrepreneurs. And so this is a category you guys fall into. Why do you think there's that focus on young entrepreneurs and on that Restart programs for this age group?
I think it's, again, comes down to the ability to pivot, not being stuck in your ways, and just really seizing opportunities. I think, too, a lot of young Manitobans have been impacted by employers shutting down and really just wanting to take their fate into their own hands and starting their own business rather than working for somebody else. So we see that with a variety of different industries, whether it's, engineers, welders, people that are in restaurants wanting to just start their own, all kinds of different businesses, really, and where people have been impacted. Same thing like in beauty as well. That's one of the industries that's been really impacted by the lockdowns. And, we do see entrepreneurs that are kind of budding in those different industries because they have been affected and haven't been able to make a choice. That choice has been made for them by their employer, whether they work or not or whatnot. And so I think it's really now people are just looking at having more control or a different type of control over their situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned earlier too about leveraging your network when it comes to finding out about grants, just asking around. What other things should young entrepreneurs ask of their network? Has there been, good conversations you've had, Michelle, with just people you knew that led to great things? Or Caroline, do you have tips around leveraging your network?
I've been to networking events where it's like, tell me what you need. And it's like, I need a bottle supplier. And someone's like, oh, I know someone. Like, it's just really just asking what you need.
And being honest and not worrying about what someone's going to think about you. Just, I think, being really authentic and just also wanting to learn from other people. Another great resource is actually to reach outside of the province where you might not have competition. Call somebody that's doing the same thing in another province, find out what they did. You'd be surprised how willing people are to speak about those things and tell their own story.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
And I think, for kombucha, I'm part of the Kombucha Brewers International. So there's a Canadian side, and it just happens to be a lot of females, and we're just like, we're all there to support. So it's like, for HACCP, I was asking some questions so they would guide me in the right direction. So whether you're looking for a bottle supplier, you're looking for something, if you just ask the group of people, it's likely someone will have an answer for you.
Yeah, I think it's that pride piece a little bit, right? Dropping that and just because I think we all want people to think that we're in a really good place with our business or our project, but asking for what you need and dropping that veil a little bit.
I think, and that's one thing that we've seen too come out from our new way of working is like we created an internal Slack channel for our entrepreneurs. So the ones that are new coming into our program can all connect with each other, and then the existing ones can as well, should they choose to. And we've seen a lot of people collaborate that way.
Now, Michelle, have you found mentors for yourself that through networking as opposed to only through some of these funding programs? Because it sounds like you have some awesome mentors through some of the loans and things you've gotten. Have you found yourself other ones?
I have like a commercial mentor. So she's actually the founder of Kombucha Brewers International in LA.
Wow.
And she's helped me grow my business. Like, because, how do you take a small batch and, make times it by 100, right? So she's been my commercial mentor, just kind of, when things go wrong in the brewery, like what to do. So she's kind of helped me on that side of things.
Okay. And Caroline, if we were trying to find our own mentors out there in the world and we're not able to be matched with someone through a wonderful program like yours, what should we look for in a mentor? What questions should someone ask that's a young entrepreneur?
I would say somebody that actually asks you questions as an entrepreneur as opposed to telling you what to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the best mentors that I've had and the way I've tried to mentor people when I was mentoring through Futurpreneur was really just more to provoke thought and to really get curious with the entrepreneur, popcorn some different ideas, but really rather than saying, oh, you should do this, it's more like, have you thought of this? Or what do you think of this? Or, tell me a little bit more about why you're so set on doing something a certain way. And I think, being curious as a mentor and then also being curious as an entrepreneur really gets those conversations going.
Yeah, it sounds like that's kind of a key personality trait, right? To be curious and also to be passionate about what you're doing.
That's interesting. Yeah. I'll have to take notes so when I'm a mentor.
Yeah, we're going to be coming to you soon to be a mentor.
Yeah, so how does that work? Sometimes you have mentors that are for people that have gone through your program and they're 5-10 years down the road and now they're coming back and supporting. Is that frequent?
Yeah, we are seeing more of that. And why not? Because they understand the program. They understand exactly what a youth entrepreneur is going through. I mean, our mentors that have years and years of experience are also fantastic. I think it's great to have a mix of both. But definitely, and I think too, a lot of our mentors, they just want to give back. A lot of them didn't have support or mentorship when they were going through their entrepreneurial journey as a startup. And they realized, if I only knew what I know now, right? Mm-hmm. And again, it's that whole hindsight 2020. Yeah. But so if you can share with somebody so that they don't have the same growing pains, why not?
Okay, and Michelle, this is a perfect question for you to listen to because I'm going to ask Caroline again, but it's if you're wanting to be a mentor, maybe this is a good question. So Caroline, when I've heard of like training programs for mentors and things like that, because there are things that they don't necessarily all know when it comes that time to flip the script where they're the ones who are going to mentor now. What makes a really good mentor other than, so you said asking questions, but what other advice would you have for someone who wants to be a mentor themselves and give their time to somebody else?
I would say just somebody that really also wants to learn more. I would say I learned so much about so many different industries because again, too, we're not going to pair a mentor for Michelle, as another kombucha brewer, right?
Okay.
Because we want her to expand. We want to support her in areas that might not have been her wheelhouse. Right. So I think for people that are wanting to be mentors, it's also continually educating yourself and keeping up to date. And your youth entrepreneurs will help you do that.
Yeah, and I think that's neat too to hear that you don't necessarily recommend matching perfect industry with perfect industry.
No.
That both people might gain more from having that diversity of thought.
Absolutely. And then it's less competitive. It's more collaborative.
Yeah. I can see that.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And Michelle, I wonder from your side too, when we're talking about this networking kind of piece and mentorship piece, when you're getting started and you have a product that is for sale and it's for really sale to anyone, pretty big market of people, as long as they're open to what the product is, how do you find that fine line of using your network to help you promote what you're doing and to purchase your products and not kind of bothering them too much with helping to support and sell your product for you? Have you found that you can ask people for help promoting what you're doing?
I think if people, a lot of people say our logo's so bright and makes them happy. So I think if people, believe in your product, they want to be part of it. Mm-hmm. We host photo shoots every year and there's usually about 20 people. Hopefully we can do that again this summer. Mm-hmm. And it's just the last photo shoot I had one of my friends that we've been friends with since grade 2. So it's just having these people and then they see their photos in the feed, right? So they feel connected. So I think just, if people feel connected to your product and to your brand, they'll just support it without it feeling like they're marketing it. Or does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and you can also probably leverage those ones that are kind of coming forward and saying, it makes me smile, it makes me do this. You might say back, well, do you mind reviewing us? Do you mind,
people, I have some customers that say, my IBS is completely gone. So I've said, hey, do you mind, taking 5 minutes and write a testimonial? So, I have a collection, I had them for my business plan, the testimonials. Mm-hmm. And, so it's just there's lots of opportunities for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It all sounds exciting. And it sounds like you do get a lot of really great testimonials. And so what is next for you and Wolseley Kombucha?
So I'm writing my second business plan because it's a living, breathing document. So I'm in the process of writing the next business plan and I'm realizing my space is tiny. We're just kind of figuring out, I have the idea of maybe having a few different locations, one more in Ontario and then maybe one in BC or something. So that's something we're thinking about, or just having, so we definitely want to have some growth. We want to grow. I'm working through the business plan to see what that's going to look like.
Exciting. Yeah. Caroline, how about you? What's going on at Futurpreneur? What do you think is going to happen in the future here for you guys?
Oh my goodness. It's been so exciting. We've grown our team here in Manitoba. And we have a great partnership with the province of Manitoba as well, through their Restart Manitoba program. So where they're supporting Futurpreneur. So that's something that we're very grateful for. More webinars for sure. I'd love to do in-person business plan coaching again, but it is what it is. And the upside is that we can reach more people in Manitoba by it not being localized to a specific place, by being remote. We're reaching a lot more people. So we have the Rock My Business series coming up again.
And that's free, right, Caroline?
That's right. And that's the beauty of what we do is we don't charge for these services. Anyone can go to the website and sign up for the interactive business plan writer. In fact, we know that people are using it all around the world. And I think that's just a testimonial to what we do. I know of post-secondary institutions that use our cash flow Excel workbook to teach cash flows in entrepreneurship classes. So I think it's just how we've been able to collaborate with some amazing people in the industry and develop these resources and the fact that we don't charge for it. So, it doesn't matter if you're 18 to 39. You can be 56 and download that business plan
No one
writer.
is stopping you from going to the website and downloading it.
All those resources are there. They're free. We have the YouTube channel as well.
And what is the website, Caroline, if someone wants to go?
It is futurpreneur.ca.
Perfect. And Michelle, how about you? If people want to find you and Wolseley Kombucha, where do they go?
WolseleyKombucha.com.
Easy. Okay. And they'll find all your social media and everything there too, I'm guessing. Fantastic. Well, Michelle, Caroline, thank you so much. That is our show for today.
All right. Thanks so much for having us.
I am so happy you came.
Thanks so much.
If you're looking to start or grow your big idea, catch more episodes like this one right here. Be sure to comment below, follow us on social, and don't forget to subscribe to the show. Just click the subscribe button here below. And every 2 weeks, we release a new episode with inspiring conversations and tips just for you. Thanks for watching.